Democrats. Today is Wednesday, January 19th. Time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Wednesday. So, a couple of things I want to talk about today. I want to stay on top of what's happening in the news, both national and statewide, and talk about voters registration. So, all over the news, local and national, there's the will they, won't they pass the voters' rights legislation? Will they remove the filibuster? Blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of barely watch that. Now, I care about what happens because if that happens, then at the state level, some of these ridiculous bills won't make it out of session because they will be in violation of federal law. I do care about that. But why I am kind of stressed is in the November 2020 election, which is it made history because in that election, the most amount of people participated that ever participated in national elections, the most in presidential elections, the most ever. And even in Oklahoma, it was the most ever in participation. But Oklahoma, on a per capita basis, we had the least voter turnout. Our voters participated, and it's not just Democrats, not just Republicans, as a whole. Voters in Oklahoma participated the least amount per capita of any state or territory in the union. And so that stresses me out. And then the state election board released the numbers yesterday of where we stand in voters registration. And people have been messaging me, calling me, texting me, Facebook, screenshotting me, tweeting me about what the voters registration numbers look like. I'm distressed about it, just as those of you who know about it are as well. But the only way to get more Democrats registered is to register more Democrats. It's that simple. And I can't do it by myself. I need your help. I am asking you. You guys have seen this background now for a year and a half. Because at first I didn't have a background or I had a different background. But for a year and a half, you've seen this background. So you know that I'm quarantining at home. I'm at home most days, trying to stay out of the fray, trying not to get COVID. And so I know the importance of us staying home. But what I also know is the importance of being involved in our electoral process. It's one of our fundamental rights, is the right to vote. We must exercise our right to vote, and we must help others exercise their right to vote. Get them registered, make sure that their registration is up to date, and make sure that they know what's happening. Get them engaged. And then help them make a plan. When it comes time for elections, help them make a plan to register. I've made my plan. I plan to vote early in person on Saturday. I have my ballot. And depending on what the COVID numbers look like, I might do it. I might send it back early, but most likely I'm going to vote early in person on Saturday. I miss the polls. I'm one of those corny people who like to exercise my right in person, but I am watching the COVID numbers. But it's a big deal. Today is January 19th. You have 5 more days till January 24th. To request your absentee ballot in case you want to vote from the luxury of your home. But we've got to participate. Now, I know that if you're watching me, you're registered to vote. I get that. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm asking you to do me a favor. Go find 5 people to register. I don't care if they're 18 years old. I don't care if they've recently gotten off paper. I don't care if they've recently felt disenfranchised, but I'm asking you to please go register folks to vote. We have got to get folks involved in this process. There is an election coming up on February 8th for school board all over the state. In some counties, there are other municipal offices that are going to be on that ballot on February 8th. It's time to get involved. Might as well start early because then there's another election in June, and then in August, and then in November. There are several elections coming up this year, and you want to participate in all of them because your vote is your voice, as corny as it sounds. When you call your senators, because I've seen all the calls to action for the senators to get them to vote for the Voting Rights Act that's out there right now, Some senators who don't like to talk to people will only talk to you if you're their constituent. They will only talk to you if you voted for them. Vote so that you get a chance. You must vote. And you must register people to vote. I know our tradition is to table at events. Well, the numbers say that when we're doing that, we're registering Republicans. So think about that the next time you get ready to go table an event. If it is with like-minded folks, you might have a better chance than just a random table. Just want to think about that. But this is why I come here every day. This is why I'm involved in the party, because I believe that everyone should be able to exercise their right to vote, be knowledgeable about what it is they're going to be voting on when they get there, and know that their vote's going to count. But the most important part about that is everybody has the right to vote. There's a lot of stuff at stake. I try to share with you bills that are happening because I want you to know this is what's happening. This is what some folks are voting for. And if you're not voting, you really can't complain about it. Watched an interview with a superintendent from El Reno talking about the state employees coming to substitute in public schools. He said in El Reno, they employ substitutes just like any other district. But since they've been back from their winter holiday, every one of their registered substitutes has gotten COVID, including himself, because he was substituting in classes. So the governor's, I don't want to call it a plan because that gives it more credit than it's due. But the governor's suggestion that we're going to send state employees into classrooms and that'll fix everything is a little short-sighted and not a real plan. We got to come back to the beginning and figure out why people are getting sick, why schools are having difficulty staying open. But elections have consequences. He is our governor. Whether or not he can make a plan, he is our governor. He was elected. We can't let that happen again. But also nationwide, we have record low unemployment rates. Elections have consequences. That is a result of electing a president who focused on making sure Americans got back to work. I have a whole bunch of other things, but there are very specific reasons why we vote. I've heard the fatalist, my vote doesn't count, and it's bought and paid for, blah, blah, blah. But there are very specific things that happen in our everyday lives as a result of who we elect. I'm begging you, get involved. One last thing I want to mention about why we get involved in elections having consequences. President Biden said that by the end of the month, you would be able to have access to free at-home COVID tests. He was going to roll it out by the end of this week so that they can start shipping in the last week of January. The website is already live. I have already ordered mine. It is super simple. You go to covidtests.gov. It brings up a really quick thing. You put in your name and your address, and they don't ask you for a credit card. They don't ask you for any form of paying. Put in your name and your address, and they're going to send 4 per household. Not 4 per person in household, but in this initial run, it's 4 per household. I will tell you that I went out today looking for a COVID test for myself. And in Tulsa, I couldn't find one of the free COVID tests available until Saturday. I went looking today. I couldn't find one that's available until Saturday. So it's important to go ahead and have the test at home if you find yourself being exposed. Elections have consequences. This is as a result of a president who understands that COVID is real and that we need to be able to govern how we move about in our space, and being able to access tests is one of those things. All righty. So you have orders. I'm not going to tell you all the stuff that I tell you all the time, but your orders today are to go out and verify that your voter's registration is up to date, because a lot of folks have information that they need to be updating on their voter's registration. Go out, make sure that your voter's registration is up to date, and then register 5 people and encourage everybody you know to register 5 people. It's really not that hard. and you don't even have to really leave your house to do it. Alrighty, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you back here tomorrow at 4:15.